She had worked hard for this. The job interview was everything she had been preparing for. A position at one of the top companies in the city. The kind of company where people dreamed of working. She wasn't nervous. In fact, she felt confident. She knew her resume. She knew her experience. She had researched the company, their values, and their goals. As the interview went on, she could tell they were impressed. Her answers were clear. She spoke with passion about her skills. She could picture herself working there. She even imagined the projects she'd work on, the people she'd collaborate with. She felt sure that this was her moment. Days went by, and she waited for the call. She checked her phone over and over, hoping for an email or a missed call. Then, one day, the notification popped up. She opened it quickly. "Thank you for your time. Unfortunately, we've decided to move forward with another candidate." Her heart sank. She stared at the screen for a few moments, not quite believing it. It didn't make sense. She had all the right skills, she had aced the interview, but the email gave no explanation, just a polite rejection. She wanted to scream, to ask why, but there was nothing. It felt like something more was behind it. It was hard not to wonder if her race had played a part in it, but she tried not to dwell on that thought. Still, the doubt lingered. After the rejection, everything felt uncertain. She had worked so hard, put everything into that interview, and still, she was turned away. It was hard not to question herself. Maybe she wasn't good enough. Maybe her skills weren't as sharp as she thought. Maybe there were things she was missing. Every day felt a little heavier. She watched her friends and colleagues move forward with their careers, getting jobs, getting promotions. They seemed to have it all figured out, and here she was, stuck. She couldn't help but compare herself to them. Was she behind? Was she falling behind? It didn't help that the rejection kept playing over and over in her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that something more had been at play. She was told she wasn't right for the job, but how could that be when she had the experience and the skills? The doubt started to build. Maybe her race was the reason they hadn't chosen her. Maybe it had nothing to do with her qualifications at all. She thought about quitting, about leaving the job hunt behind. She even considered changing fields, but then she remembered what her mom always told her. "You are strong. You are capable. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Her friends tried to lift her up too. They reminded her that one rejection didn't define her. They told her she had so much to offer. Slowly, she started to believe them. But it wasn't easy. She had to dig deep to remind herself who she was, what she had to offer. It wasn't about the rejection anymore. It was about what she could do next. And maybe, just maybe, the right opportunity was still out there waiting for her. One day she came across a job listing for a new startup. It wasn't like the other big companies she had applied to. This one was small, growing fast, and looking for strong leaders. The listing didn't just ask for experience. It asked for someone with fresh ideas. Someone who wasn't afraid to take risks. She felt a spark of hope. Maybe this was the change she needed. The application process felt different. The interview wasn't as formal as the others. The people there were down to earth, asking her questions about her vision, about what she could bring to the table. They seemed genuinely interested in her ideas. They didn't focus on her past failures or the companies she'd worked at. Instead, they wanted to know what she could do to help them grow. For the first time in a while, she felt heard. She spoke about her past experiences, but this time she didn't hold back. She shared her vision for how the company could grow, how it could impact the community. She talked about what she could bring to the table, not just as an employee, but as a leader. She felt confident, almost excited. This was different. After the interview, she didn't dwell on it. She didn't feel the need to keep checking her phone every few minutes. She trusted that if it was meant to be, it would happen. Then, a few days later, the call came. They offered her the position. She was thrilled, but also a little cautious. It was a new company and there was still so much unknown. Would it be a good fit? Would the people there truly value her? But as she thought more about it, she realized that this could be the chance she had been waiting for. The company was still small, and that meant there was room for her to grow. She decided to take the leap. Maybe this was the fresh start she needed. It felt like the perfect opportunity to prove herself, to show her true potential. At first, she was nervous. The company was new, and there was so much to figure out, but she didn't let that hold her back. She threw herself into her work, bringing her best ideas to the table. She worked long hours, often staying late to make sure everything was perfect. It wasn't easy, but she was determined. She wanted to prove that they made the right choice by hiring her. Slowly, people started to take notice. Her ideas were bold, but they worked. The team responded well to her leadership, and her colleagues began to trust her judgment. She wasn't just a worker. She was someone who could make things happen. She saw opportunities where others saw obstacles, and bit by bit, she helped the company grow. Her progress didn't happen overnight. There were challenges, of course. Sometimes, people doubted her. Some questioned if she had what it took to lead. They wondered if she could handle the responsibility. But she didn't back down. She knew her worth, and she didn't let anyone make her doubt it. With every challenge, she only became stronger. She learned to manage her team, solve problems quickly, and make tough decisions. She was also learning more about herself. She was becoming more confident in her abilities, more comfortable with her leadership role. She had a way of bringing people together, making them feel heard and valued. Her team began to grow, and as it did, she found herself rising through the ranks. First, she became a team leader. Then a manager. Every step felt like a victory. Her confidence grew, and so did her role in the company. She had earned respect, not just from her peers, but from the people in charge. The more she succeeded, the more her dreams of what she could accomplish started to feel real. She was climbing the corporate ladder, and she wasn't stopping. Years passed, and her career continued to soar. She had become one of the most trusted leaders in the company. Her innovative ideas had helped shape the company's future, and her leadership style had inspired those around her. She was no longer just an employee. She was an integral part of the company's success. Her name was known across the business world, and it wasn't just for her hard work, it was for the impact she had made. The CEO, who had been with the company since the beginning, was ready to step down. The company needed someone to take the reins, someone who could lead them into the next phase of growth. It was a big decision, and there were many potential candidates. But there was one person who had consistently proven her ability to lead and drive change: her. At first, she couldn't believe it. This was the moment she had been working for. But she also felt a mix of excitement and doubt. Could she really take on such a huge responsibility? Was she ready for this role? But then she thought about everything that had brought her here. The rejections, the struggles, the hours spent working late, the doubts she had overcome. She had earned this. She was ready. She was offered the position of CEO. It felt surreal at first, like a dream that had finally come true. She remembered back to when she had been rejected from that other job. It felt like a lifetime ago. Now, she was stepping into a role that she had worked so hard for. She wasn't just the CEO, she was a symbol of what was possible when you refused to give up. The transition was not without its challenges. She had to learn how to manage on a larger scale, make decisions that affected the entire company. But with every challenge came growth. She leaned into her experience and her leadership. She knew she had the support of her team, and that made all the difference. She wasn't just leading the company, she was leading it to new heights. Now, as the CEO, she often found herself looking back on her journey. It was hard to believe how far she had come. She thought about the time when she'd been rejected for that job, when everything had seemed uncertain. She thought about the doubt, the disappointment, and how much it had shaken her confidence. But over time, those feelings had faded. They didn't define her. What had defined her was the persistence to keep going. She had kept moving forward, even when the path wasn't clear. Every rejection, every challenge, had taught her something new. She learned that setbacks didn't mean failure, they were just a part of the journey. She learned that her worth wasn't defined by other people's opinions. The company had changed too. She had helped shape it, yes, but it had also shaped her. It had taught her what it meant to be a true leader. Someone who could inspire others to believe in themselves and take risks. She had been given the chance to make a difference, and she had taken it. But she also knew that her success wasn't just about her. It was about the people who had supported her, the colleagues who had believed in her, and the team she had built. She didn't take her position lightly. She knew that her journey wasn't just hers to tell. It was a story for anyone who had ever faced rejection, anyone who had doubted themselves. She had proven that it was possible to rise above the setbacks, to turn a no into a yes, and to transform rejection into success. Now, as she stood at the helm of the company, she was proud. Proud of her journey, proud of what she had built, proud of everything she had become.